Good evening and welcome once again to the Marty Heiser Show. We have an incredible show tonight. We have a candidate for the governor of the state of Connecticut. He's going to be joining us on the first half of this, and he has also said he wants to join the mosh pit, the mud rustling that is our roundtable discussion. The phone number here is 203-438-2003. Call in. We want to hear your voice. We want you to be heard. We're going to be talking about politics. We're going to be talking about the nutmeg state. We're going to be talking about the state budget. Yeah, this. Every page, they're coming after you. They want your money. And luckily, Joe Visconti is going to be joining us this evening to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, I want to do something that I don't often do here on the Marty Heiser Show, and that's a shout out to our president, Barack Obama. Because I'm trying to focus on the positive. I'm trying to look at the glass half full, not half empty. I'm trying to give him a pass by doing a moral equivalent with what happened down in Missouri and guys cutting off people's heads in the Middle East. I'm going to get past that. I'm not even going to bring it up. And I'm going to focus on one part of his speech to the United Nations, where he said, "It is time for the world, especially the Muslim community, to explicitly, forcefully, and consistently reject the ideology of Al-Qaeda and ISIL." Thank you, Mr. President. You put a title on it. This is Muslim extremism. He goes on. It's really good stuff. It is a task of all great religions to accommodate devout faith with a modern multicultural world. No children anywhere should be educated to hate other people. There should be no more tolerance for so-called clerics who call upon people to harm innocents because they are Jewish, Christian, or Muslim. It is time for a new compact among civilized people of this world to eradicate war at its most fundamental source, the corruption of young minds by violent ideology. Mr. President, I salute you. I thank you for putting a name to what's going on. This is Muslim extremism, and it must be stopped. Also, here's another guy. I don't know if we got a picture of the president there. Here's another guy. You know, you get these gentlemen, these clerics, these religious leaders a little bit confused sometimes. But this is Saudi Arabia's top religious official who recently denounced the Islamic State terrorist organization, better known as ISIL, following the words of other Muslim leaders. Saudi Grand Mufti Sheikh Abdullah Aziz al-Sheikhi issued a statement Tuesday that was released by the Saudi press agency, and he said, "Extremist and militant ideas and terrorisms which spread decay on the earth and destroy human civilization are not in any way part of Islam, but are an enemy number one of Islam, and Muslims are their first victims." Dear Saudi Grand Mufti Sheikh Abdul Aziz al-Sheikhi, thank you. Thank you for taking a stand, because really, the scourge of extremist Muslims has to be cleansed from within. You can't have a rosy-cheeked American guy go, "Hey, you know, what you guys are doing is really nuts. You got to cut it out." You got to have the fellow guys running around going, "Allah Akbar, Salam Alaikum, brother," saying, "Hey, I don't think our religion wants to be known for cutting off the heads of children or killing people because of their religious views." Another issue that happened today, Eric Holder is leaving. And frankly, I understand that we're in the liberal Northeast, and I understand that Eric Holder is a beloved, a patron saint of the Obama administration. But I, for one, could not be happier that Eric Holder has left. Here's the problem with Eric Holder. There's an IRS investigation. Unfortunately, the IRS targeted groups that were politically conservative, much like you might get in a tin horn dictatorship in Central or South America, not in the most majestic democracy ever known on the face of the earth. They took the IRS and they targeted and attacked your fellow Americans because of their religious views. Eric Holder was charged, talk about the fox guarding the hen house, he was supposed to investigate this. Nothing's happened. You remember our buddy Lois Lerner? She pled the fifth. She impinged on, she corrupted the investigation. She said all her emails were lost, and even her emails on her BlackBerry. I mean, does it say stupid across my forehead here? That's what Eric Holder thought of the rest of the American public, and it goes on. The first thing he does is one of his early speeches calls us a nation of cowards. When it has to do with racist issues. We just elected the first black president. It should be the most kumbaya moment. Dr. Martin Luther King's vision for a future where you're not judged by the color of your skin, but by the content of your character was realized. And what does our friend Eric Holder say right off the bat? We're a nation of cowards. Give me a break. He divided America along racial lines. If there was an incident in Florida or Missouri, boy, he was right there. Divided them for political purposes along racial lines. He called himself Obama's wingman. Obama's wingman. Is that really who you want to have to be the chief law enforcement officer in the country and think it's going to be smooth sailing? Also, there's where is that picture I had? It's here somewhere. It was a picture of here we go. This is the Black Panther group at a polling place. Now, they talk about voter suppression. They talk about, suppressing the vote of people. And yet somehow Eric Holder looks at the Black Panthers at a polling place, I think it was, I don't know, somewhere in Philadelphia or something, with little clubs. Eric Holder, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Nothing to see here, no voter suppression. Let's all just move on. I think Al Sharpton is coming over for dinner. He was held in contempt of Congress because he basically told Congress, and by extension the rest of the American public, go pound salt. We're not giving you the documents you want having to do with a really numbskulled idea about running guns down to Mexico that ended up with some of the most violent drug cartels and ended up shooting a border guard. Forget it. We're not giving you any documents. IRS, same thing. Emails? We don't got no emails. You got emails? Oh, guess what? It all crashed. We can't get the emails. What, do we look stupid? And you sit here and as an American citizen, and you say to yourself, there must be some justice in this country. There must be, we are a nation of laws. And then you look and you see who the highest law enforcement official is, and it's Obama's wingman. And so if they're going after Obama's political enemy, a blind eye is turned. And guess what happened next? NSA. That's right, we're supposed to kind of ferret out terrorists. Well, guess what the biggest terrorist was? A Jewish journalist for Fox News. And I know you snicker, ha ha ha, it's Fox News, ha ha ha, it's Fox News. But let me tell you something. When you have an all-powerful federal government that begins to come after people, it's going to be your goose that's cooked next. But this time it's James Rosen. And so he comes up in front of Congress and he says, I don't know anything about identifying journalists and targeting them in any way. I don't know anything about it. Well, guess what? We have a subpoena, Mr. Holder, a subpoena. And guess whose name, his signature is on the subpoena? Your subpoena. You claim that James Rosen was some kind of an enemy of the state. And for good measure, not just James Rosen, but he's got two lovely, elderly Jewish parents that live out on Staten Island. Let's tap their phones too while we're at it. That's Eric Holder. That was his Justice Department. No, I'm not unhappy that Eric Holder is leaving. I'm actually pretty happy. And I hope that the Justice Department can re-find its way and they can be even-handed and not be used as a political arm of the current administration to attack his political enemies. Eric Holder, goodbye. I'm sure you'll have a multi-million-dollar contract with some liberal law firm that thinks you're the cat's meow. Speaking as one American, I'm not impressed. I don't like you trampling on the Constitution. I don't like you snooping around journalists that you don't happen to agree with. And I sure as hell don't like you targeting groups just because you disagree with them politically. Eric Holder, best of luck to you. I couldn't be happier that you're leaving power as quick as possible. Joe? You seem a little shy. I get a little wound up, and I know I shouldn't. I get a little for clef. They even give me a rag here because I get all wound up. This Eric Holder guy, I don't know. I mean, there's some people that, you know, I don't know, they just kind of rub you the wrong way. But Obama's wingman, and when you see there's injustice being perpetrated against fellow Americans, and who do you have to turn to? Obama's wingman, and he's going to get right on that IRS thing. They had an FBI people up in front of Congress, and they asked him, so how's the IRS investigation going? We'll have to get back to you on that IRS thing. They're not doing jack about IRS. They couldn't care less. This Lois Lerner, you know, pleading the fifth, nothing to see here. Move on, move on. Don't get me started. Joe Visconti, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it very much. I'm sorry I ranted like that. I just got to get it off my chest. My blood pressure, but my psychiatrist says it's just good to vent, because if you keep it, you know, pent in, you're going to have an ulcer. First of all, let me thank you for running for governor of the state of Connecticut. I mean, I see you running around here. I know you don't got a massive staff of people or a multi-million-dollar budget. You're doing this thing on a shoestring. And, well, why don't I let you? Why are you running for governor? What animates your candidacy?
Well, I was here, I think, in the winter last time I was here.
Yeah, we had that debate.
And I said to you, Tom Foley or me will be your next governor. Every day that I've been in the race, 17 months now, every day I'm just astounded by the next thing that's going to happen. Something people don't realize is that I am Republican. I've remained Republican even though I'm on the ballot as an unaffiliated. And today another episode happened with Mr. Foley, which confirms why I'm in the race. He's now blaming on Cap Report his staffer for releasing plagiarized information. Last week it was a picture of Governor Malloy praying at Sandy Hook, an ad they had to take down. So every week it's another blunder. The minimum wage, and I hate to beat up Tom, but the reality is people are asking, well, why don't you step aside? We don't know what the next blunder Tom Foley's going to create or make, and I'm your backup right now because I mean, the minimum.
You're our plan B.
Yeah, well, listen, the minimum wage, he was all in when Obama came to with Malloy to New Britain. And he said it was a fairness issue. Small business owners I've talked to were all against it during a recession. I think about a month ago he comes out with this new prorated system for everyone under 21. So Common Core, he was all in 2010. And yeah, we'll do that in a second.
Okay.
But the point is, Tom, on every issue, didn't know where he stood and doesn't know where he stands. It's not what the electorate want. They want someone who stands for what they believe, and you can't just keep waffling and taking different positions. And so every one of these issues he's moved against and moved for, from Common Core to minimum wage. It's just been a problem where the electorate's confused. They don't know what he stands for. He's letting Malloy back in the race, and I won't stand for it. I wasn't going to sit home and watch a Linda McMahon moment happen in 2012 when she started campaigning with Obama and have Tom Foley just make mistakes. I don't know who he's listening to, but and I like the guy. I've said that to you before. He's a good guy. I just don't think he has a political sense to know what he's doing wrong until he has to make a statement tonight and say, it was my staff. You know, the dog ate our homework. Maybe in my campaign where we're not taking taxpayers' money, we're living off the land. Under $20,000, we've got 7% on the Q poll, which is big because only 11% people know who I am. So to get 7% when only 11% know you, because of the damn media blackout all summer, they thought Jonathan Pelto was going to, get on the ballot as an unaffiliated. He didn't make it. No one thought we would, so they blacked us out. And the Q poll comes out about a week after we get on the ballot. So the next poll should show us in a better position.
Okay, but let's just talk raw politics here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, you say it's either going to be Foley or you. I mean, we're what, 40 days out now?
39 days
39 days out, even less. And it looks like you're not going to get a majority of the votes unless...
How do you know?
Well, we don't know.
34% wins the race.
Okay, well... Let's just say for discussion purposes, it doesn't look like you're going to win, but you could be the spoiler. You could either be a kingmaker here or you could be a spoiler, just looking at the
numbers. I can't be a kingmaker with Tom Foley as the person you're trying to make a king because we don't know the next mistake he's going to make.
Well, let's go through some of these mistakes you're saying. One is on the minimum wage.
Minimum wage, small business owners.
His thinking has maybe evolved on that.
Yeah, so we've got an evolving Mitt Romney waffling back and forth. It's not going to fly in Connecticut. Better yet, there's 39 days more of mistakes coming, and I wish they weren't, but they are. And so I've had to be in the race for those reasons. I won't let Malloy back in the race, and Tom will. So,
well, I mean, I don't see, when you say you won't let Malloy back in the race.
I would not let him back in the race.
If you siphon votes from Foley,
then Malloy. Right now we're taking more votes from Democrats than Republicans. Right now. The next poll, we should be out in about a week or two.
Right.
We'll actually get a better, clear understanding. We're hoping to be in double digits, from 7 to probably 11 or 12. And then from 12 to 34, it's mistakes, it's debates, it's showtime.
How are the debates going?
The only one so far that's letting us in is CPTV. Maybe because they don't charge for ads on their television network. I don't know.
Okay.
I talked to NBC today. They said to me that I cleared 5% and I should be able to be in it, but they want to wait about a week out to see if I'm still at 5%. I'm at 7 right now, at that 5%. So I kind of argue with them. Well, CPTV said I cleared 5 and I'm in. Why do you want to do like a bungee thing here?
Okay, so 42 days from now, we're going to be sitting here, and it's either going to be 40 days from now, whatever. You got to wait for the bags of votes from Bridgeport to come in, after they came up short. 41, 40, whatever, 42 days from now, we're going to be sitting here, and it's either going to be that doggone Visconti, he got us 4 more years of Malloy, everything he stood for, Second Amendment issues, the economy falling apart, everything that he held so adamantly, he wrecked it for us because we could have at least had Tom Foley. Now, Tom Foley isn't perfect, but we could have at least had, or 40 days from now, it's going to be, you'll say, well, I've looked at everything, I've talked to my executive staff, and I've decided I want to throw my weight behind the election of Tom Foley.
That'll never happen.
But you'll be the kingmaker. You'll be the talk of the town.
Marty, what's the difference between Tom Foley and Governor Malloy? Wait. Let me show you my next commercial.
All right.
Okay. Tom Foley doesn't want to ask unions for any concessions. And we have a $1.4 billion budget deficit coming each year for the next 2 years. Governor Malloy doesn't want to ask for concessions. Tom Foley is flatlining spending, which means it goes up 7%. So isn't it with Governor Malloy? And neither one want to address the budget deficit. Tom Foley does not want to repeal Common Core, neither does Governor Malloy. Tom Foley will not even touch or put out a governor's repeal bill on any part of SB 1160, the gun bill. Neither will Malloy. If you go down the line, Tom Foley just wants to be governor because he's not Dan Malloy, and he has no specifics. And the specifics he puts out today in an urban agenda is plagiarized. It's not even his own thinking. So we don't know what he stands for. This is detrimental because the public is going to choose in 40 days. And I think in the next 40 days, you're going to see things that you haven't seen before. And the public is irate, a little upset, and want to know, will Tom fight? So we got a call.
Caller, I happen to know this caller is a contributing writer to the New York Times.
Oh, that guy
so,
again. That guy again.
Yeah, that. So caller, do you have something to add? Is there some subtle nuance of the nutmeg state that we're missing here?
A couple of things. Once again, Marty, your hair looks wonderful tonight.
Thank you. It's got this weird attraction thing on it.
Most seriously, your comment about Bridgeport delivering the votes 2 days late. That's the reason Republicans can never win, because they can't carry Bridgeport.
Eric.
My point.
Caller. You have your Sports Illustrated helmet phone. You got to get a better phone. Eric.
And I got this phone in Richmond. But my question to Mr. Visconti is possible. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You're coming in like R2-D2 in Star Wars, but go ahead. We'll try and piece it together.
I like what he's saying, but he's far to the right or whatever. But I like the fact that what's interesting about Connecticut is Foley is a potential 2-time loser if he loses this time. McMahon was a 2-time loser. Picella, if he loses again, he'll be a 2-time loser. The Connecticut Republican Party is a disarray. And I, as somebody who's to the left of the left, but also believes in the right to bear arms, just reading a little bit about Mr. Visconti, an article about him on the Wall Street Journal. Now, to call him the kingmaker, he's not hugely wrong. But I do think that if he still drew enough votes away from Foley, who I think is a complete loser, and has done nothing at all other than be an ambassador to Ireland, which is a political.
Okay, Eric, do you have a question?
Him to lose the votes of Malloy. I'll call back later, Marty, after I take a shower.
Okay, thanks for the update on your personal hygiene routine. But what about that? I mean, there is a bit of a rogues gallery here. You got McMahon that spent, what, $100 million on 2 campaigns? Did she really campaign with Obama towards the end?
Of course. She put out $1 million TV ads and brochures to every city house.
We got Dan DiBasella, who's coming up again. He's already lost once.
They're moderates that don't message and don't have ideas. This is our
then
problem.
we have Foley. He said, ran once and didn't get through. What about that? What are we doing wrong here, Joe?
I believe after spending the summer, I started April 29th to August 6th collecting signatures to be on the ballot. The first the first petition we got over 5,000 signatures. The second one, 10,500. So we gathered 16,000 signatures, talked to and saw hundreds of thousands of people, delivered these signatures to all 169 towns. So we got signatures everywhere across the state. And what we heard is Foley won't fight, Foley won't tell us what's going on. We want a choice, and I think Tom would be a better candidate if he had put some specifics. They would believe him more than me on a budget if he put a budget together and actually showed he's the money man. So if he had made a move or still makes a move towards showing the public, even if there's going to be tax increases, people would live with that because they hate Malloy, but they want to know where he's going, and he's painted himself in the corner by saying no union concessions, no cutting spending.
Let's just take one.
You got to understand what that means.
Okay, no union concessions. Now let me try to
you've got to ask for them.
Be the devil's advocate on this. It sounds like no one in this state can ever get elected if you don't have some support from the unions.
No.
Is that true?
We can't break their contract, but we can ask them. I've already met many of them. I'm going to put a number on the table and say, can you give us some of this? Right. They're going to say no. The minute they say no, you got a tax increase, and I'm telling you before the election, if unions won't help us, it's not their fault, but we need their help to sustain.
Okay, but I'm just trying to get into.
But he doesn't want to ask them at all. He says the deal's the deal. Let's not ask. Well, how the heck are you going to stop a $1.4 billion coming in each of the next 2 years, and you're not cutting spending, and you're not asking for this, for concessions? It's impossible. He painted himself into the corner. He doesn't want to address the deficit, and Malloy doesn't want to address the deficit.
Well, yeah, of course.
Because he wants to say there's a surplus.
Can we all agree that Malloy has been a disaster for Connecticut, and 4 more years of Malloy, and it's just going to keep getting worse?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, right now, if you could wave your magic wand, if you're not going to be the next governor, you would prefer Foley over Malloy, right?
If he doesn't win, Tom Foley does not win with a specific plan that he follows, the people won't have faith after he wins and he raises taxes.
39 more days. Yeah. We're going with what we got here. I'm just saying what you know about Foley and what we know about our existing governor. Wouldn't you like to get up day after election and say,
no,
Governor Tom Foley?
I want to be governor.
I know you want. I want to be governor. I want to be Johnny Unitas too.
Then get recruited for football like I've gotten into the game.
Okay,
well, I got in the game. Okay?
I've had some electoral successes and losses, so I'm more or less in the game as well. But I mean, not to the extent that you are. I mean, right now, this is the pinnacle. With the next 39 days, you have it within your hands to have the entire state of Connecticut either turn to a more conservative approach to government where there's hope, or have another 4 years going down the Malloy rat hole. And it's in your hands. It's in your hands. I am controlling the future of the state. You are.
I am.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, if you have.
But I'm not doing it for that reason. But
I know you're doing it because, look, you're the guy that went out there and got 16,000 signatures. You're the guy that was snuffed by the state elite. I see them there in their happy pants.
What are you talking about? I was snuffed by the Tea Party, the Family Institute of Connecticut, and the CCDL.
Okay, well,
my own people.
The only one you're not getting snuffed by is the Marty Heiser show. So you got that going for you. And we're here and we're talking about all this. But I'm saying, if you carry this thing through, and we wake up and we got 4 more years of Malloy, they're going to be going, oh, Visconti, we could have had this. Caller, are you there?
I'm here, Marty.
Okay, help me out. What are we doing wrong here? Throw us a bone here. This is like we're imploding here.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys a question. I want to know what you thought about the climate march in New York City, where 400,000 people got together to finally give the old bada bing to the deniers. And I'd like to know what your candidate sitting next to you, I'd like to know what he thinks about global warming.
Okay, first I'll share.
That's the problem.
Okay. First of all, I'll share with you, right now there is more sheet ice on the two poles than there has ever been. And secondly, the last 15 years there hasn't been any global warming. And thirdly, do you know why Greenland used to be Iceland and now it's Greenland? Because there's been natural ebbs and flow with heating and cooling in this country or on this planet for years. And as far as the 40,000 wackos that are down there that are saying what we really do to stop global warming is rich folks need to pay more taxes and give it to liberal Democrats because somehow they're going to fix everything, I think is pretty ridiculous thinking. So I don't care if there's 40,000 or 4 million. I don't think global warming is a big problem. I think it's a big tax grab. The biggest polluters are China and India, and they ain't getting anywhere closer to this. So go ahead and think about global warming if you want. Should I ask the candidate?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You just spit out what you consider to be a fact, that there hasn't been any global warming in 15 years. Okay. Where are you getting your information from? What data are you using? And could you please prove it to me? Okay. Because if you listen to the National Academy of Sciences, or if you listen to NASA, or if you listen to the Goddard Institute of Space.
You know what? Hold on one second. I got a news. You know, you're right. You're right. There's global warming, and it's because of coal and driving cars, and it's because I get up every day and work from January 1 to May 13th to pay my state, local, and federal taxes. But you know what I need to do? I need to work harder and pay even more taxes, because I'll give that money to liberal Democrats and then they'll fix it. You're right. You're right. No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. You're right. There's global warming, and that's how we should fix it. You're completely right. I got to pay more taxes. More taxes. Just pay more taxes. The government will fix it. You're right. It's getting hot. Pay more taxes. They'll fix everything. Okay, caller. Caller, I got to go. I got to go. Caller, I got a guest here. The poor guy's running for governor, but call back. I'll ask him about global warming. I'm sorry. You're right, though. It is getting hot, and we need to pay more taxes to liberal Democrats because they'll fix it. 10 seconds on global warming. I'm sorry.
Have you seen the weather this year? Kind of cold?
It's kind of
take your boat
chilly.
out?
Yeah.
It's chilly?
Yeah.
Volcanoes, stratosphere dust.
Yeah.
Okay, it ebbs and flows. But if we could not stop China and the polluters of the world, then what are they going to do? And what does that mean? You don't attempt to do what? Penalize us and have it come across from China to California?
Pretty sure if we just pay more taxes to the government, the liberal Democrats will fix everything.
The argument's two ways. There's a book called Chill. Have your caller look up a book called Chill. Some pretty good stats in that. On just the opposite of his theories. So science can measure both ways, but I believe, like you said, it ebbs and flows. Pollution is different. I mean, pollution by itself, environmental pollution, we should always try to stop, but not into some theory that we can't control.
Okay. A couple points. Deficits, 1.4 billion. What are we talking about?
That's the Office of Fiscal Analysis, the state legislature, independent. 1.4 for the next 2 years and probably climbing. Malloy believes we'll grow out of it. Foley says something to the effect of the spending doesn't have to be 7%, even though he wants the flat line. This doesn't even attempt to address the unfunded liabilities that are close to $80 billion, or any natural disaster or any increased spending we're going to need on something. So they're basically both trying to avoid the deficit. We're putting a budget together now. We can't find a way with cutting everything you can think of that's not essential for us.
Is that what these Post-it notes are?
Yeah,
These are all places you're going to cut?
Yeah, that's it. No, yeah, that's some of it.
Okay.
And we're going through it with a fine-tooth comb. And if after you peel back the onion of what Finch called, the rating agency called Malloy's, what they kept them a negative rating a few weeks ago, saying there was so much smoke and mirrors, basically. While I'm peeling back to smoke and mirrors to get at the real numbers, it's just amazing before you can address the real problem. the likelihood, with union concessions and cutting everything to the bone we can find, there's a likelihood that you wouldn't have to have tax increases, but that would mean getting concessions. That would mean cutting spending, which Tom Foley or the governor don't want to do. So you have to cut spending, you have to get some union concessions. It's up to them. If they don't, we'll have tax increases. That's the message, and the big thing that the unions have told me is they just don't want to be blamed. They'll give back, and I've done the thing where I'm saying, I'll put a number on the table, you find your own cuts. There's, where do you want them? I don't care. You find your own cuts. This is a message Tom Foley needs to carry and pick up, and I wish he would. He takes most of my ideas, but then he messes them up when he implements them. So he's got to put out.
He hasn't implemented anything.
Well, he tries. Yeah,
sitting around
my sales tax
my
sales tax phase out of 0.35%. He did. The governor lifted my program of giving tax incentive to college students who graduate and stay here.
Imitation is a
I love it.
form
if
of
they would
flattery.
just get it right, we'd be okay. But neither one of them. But these are a lot of. There's a lot of pandering. But anyway, the bottom line is we will have tax increases. It's almost mathematical certainty next year because of just the way spending unfunded liabilities. And I'm not saying I want it as last resort, but for them not to even address the numbers and just keep going after each other personally with your tax dollars, those $13 million in TV ads everyone's watching are paid by you and me. Those are tax dollars that are making those. So the ad should say, I'm Governor Malloy and I approve this message and you paid for it. That's what it say at the bottom. But the bottom line is the fiscal realities next year. If our party, I'm going to call it the Republican, doesn't put out a plan, or if Tom doesn't put one out, really be frank with the public, they'll accept it. And doesn't put it out when they have tax increases next year and all the things come around, that'll be bad for the brand because they'll say, he'll say, I didn't tell you anything. I never told you anything. And so that's the Linda McMahon new direction. I call it no direction. Tom Foley's no direction. So he's got 39 days to get his act together if he wants to be governor. And I'll be climbing up, behind him.
On day 40, it's going to be Visconti. You should have thrown him a bone. We would have had a Republican governor.
It's a long way to the election.
39 days in the long. Okay, can you cue up that ad because I liked it. And while we do that, if we can get a shot of this ad, I'll hold it up.
This is our anti-Common Core ad. Let me recycle it.
And then we'll be joined by Chris Murray.
You want to get that camera ready?
Yeah.
You hit that button when you're ready.
Give a second to
hit the button when you're ready.
Line in, and then we're going to be joined by.
Just hit there's a button right in the middle there.
Okay. And then we're going to be joined by Chris Murray, editor, of course, of the Patriot Post, and Al Alper, who is the chairman of the Republican Party in Wilton, Connecticut.
Testing is not learning. Teachers, please join us to stop Common Core. I'm Joe Visconti, and I approve this message.
Now, are you actually riding a skateboard there?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah. I ride horses, I ride skateboards.
I'm telling you, I see.
Contract, I climb ladders, I rip roofs off, come on.
This is a beautiful thing. You're a man of the people, a veritable Cincinnatus, coming out and joining us. We are joined by Chris Murray, editor-in-chief and publisher and grand poobah of
The Connecticut Patriot.
The Connecticut Patriot. Just Google it. You can get it on there. It has a lot of content. And Al Alper, a man of the people, chairman of the Republican Party in Wilton, Connecticut.
Free Wilton.
Home of Tony Boucher and
Gail Laviano.
Gail Laviano.
That's
excellent.
Right.
So what about that? You guys know Joe Visconti. He's running for governor.
We go way back.
Is he the skunk at the garden party, or is he a man of the people that's going to triumph in the end and will say we were behind him all the time? Al, I turn to you.
So I like Joe. Joe and I have known each other for several years. I don't think he voted for me at one point, but that's all right.
I didn't have a vote.
No, actually, you didn't have a vote. You were the man behind the scenes, however. All of that notwithstanding, I just don't honestly think that you have much of a chance, frankly. You are climbing in the polls, and I know that to some degree. If you in single decimal points climbing in the polls, but it's still climbing. That's worth something. But having said that, ultimately, while you may claim to draw votes from the Democrats, you are drawing votes from the Republicans, and frankly, we're outnumbered in the state. in registered voters. We're outnumbered in the state when it comes to fundraising. We're outnumbered in the state when it comes to boots on the ground. Democrats are run by unions, and Democrats run unions. So there's a symbiotic relationship between them, and they don't pay for that. So if you consider that they've got tens of thousands of unpaid boots on the ground, we're outnumbered. And we need every single body behind our front-running candidate. And it's reasonable to step into the spotlight and put forth policies and render opinions to help shape the debate, if you would, the public discourse. But at some point you have to stand back and take an honest look in the mirror, and hopefully you see what everybody else sees and not what you want to see. Because the most difficult thing anybody can do is get an honest reflection of himself or herself. And I think at some point you're going to have to do that, and when you do, I think you need to get behind Tom and endorse him. And it can't be the day before, because there aren't a lot of people paying attention the day before either. There's a runway for a reason, right? I mean, you're looking at the runway in front of you today saying, I'm going to do this today, this tomorrow, this the day after, and hopefully that plane takes off. If you wait till the last day, there's no runway left. And if 15% of the people that were supporting you weren't paying attention on the last day of the race, they're going to vote for you. And unfortunately, they won't vote for Tom. And we've lost. End of story, end of discussion, and we get 4 more years of Malloy. And that would sit squarely in your lap.
I don't mean to treat you like a potted plant, but let me just take your side on this.
Please
this
do.
guy has gone, he went through the primary, he went to the state convention, he did everything that he was supposed to do to get on the ballot. He has a lot of people behind him, individuals, not so much groups, Second Amendment folks for one. And so, why shouldn't he be able to finish the race? I mean, doesn't he have a moral ground to stand on to say, hey, look, I got this far. You guys weren't talking to me when I was out there getting signatures in the August heat or whatever it was. It's America. I followed the rules, and I want to see this thing through.
Again, I don't deny Joe.
You're talking about you like
I don't deny him. Okay. I don't deny Joe his right to do it. Hell, I ran a congressional campaign, and we did the exact same thing. We stomped the ground for 2 weeks. We pulled together 3,300 signatures, as you know. Mm-hmm. You were a part of that campaign.
That was the Notre Dame guy.
That was Rob Merkel. Okay, that's correct. Uh-huh. We got our name on the ballot post-convention, and we went to a primary. And I don't begrudge anybody their right to run. At some point, when you're in the general, you're no longer taking points away from another Republican to gain the Republican endorsement such that you can run in the general. You're taking away votes from a Republican who is running against your opposition, the Democrats.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is.
Camera over here.
Okay, sorry.
Camera over here.
Oh, hold on. We're just doing my Joe Visconti. Hold, he's right here.
Over here. If you were on the street, Al, for 150 days statewide with an army of people and heard who isn't coming out to vote for Foley, who isn't coming out to vote at all because of what he's not doing, then you would realize why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I've told Tom over and over in a variety of ways what he needs to do. Who am I? I'm the guy on the street. He's not on the street. He doesn't know, neither do you, how many people are not. And if it is a low turnout, Malloy takes it no matter what, even if I'm not in the race. And this is what's going to happen in a low turnout. They're disgusted, not because Tom is a Republican, and not because he isn't a nice guy. People do like Tom. He's not a bad guy. We all like him. But positions, budget, they're expecting to know numbers. He's not giving them what they want. Even if there was a tax increase, they'll live with that, but he has to be square with them. If he fails to deliver a message and he waffles, I'm not sure about guns, I'm not sure about Common Core, I'm not sure about minimum wage, I'm not sure about anything, he has failed. And that's why I ask, what's the difference between Tom Foley and Governor Malloy right now? Beyond the liberal stuff, in other words, Tom's not going to try to take your guns away. Well, beyond that,
that's not marginal.
If the Democrats, and they will have supermajority again, Tom Foley's veto will do nothing. They will run right over him because he's not fighting today. So they'll have control, just like they did with Jody Rell. And he's not a fighter, he's not going to win. So you're going to end up having a governor that's weak with Democrats writing over everything he does. If he does anything. Right now he does nothing on the campaign. Why should we expect him to do anything as governor? He's got to start showing some muscle. He's got to show it.
I think your point is well taken. I think to the extent that you reflect the or you sense voter indifference or voter disgust, I sense that too. I do. I think that people are basically saying to themselves, there isn't a distinction between these candidates. And it's happening at the local level, and it's happening at the state level. There isn't a distinction. And to the extent that you can help elicit from Foley answers to these positions on these important issues.
I have been the stalking horse who has put the positions out. He hasn't picked them up because he doesn't trust. His people are telling him, don't do that, don't do that, don't say anything. It's too much, just win and hold the lead in the poll. And this is how he'll fail in the end. I don't want him at the end of the day. I wouldn't want that. But if he doesn't understand, it's not just me, it's coming from tens of thousands of people. I'm just a conveyor of the information.
Caller, do you have a question for the candidate?
I got a comment first. Mr. Visconti, the two gentlemen to the right of you are one of the reasons the Republican party's in the toilet in Connecticut. I heard the comment that the Democrats are strongly driven by unions, which is total BS. The unions are dead in Connecticut. The unions are dead outside of maybe New York City. Mr. Visconti, I applaud you for running. As I called before, I said I'm to the left. I'm going to vote for Molloy. These knuckleheads to your right, these two Tea Party activists, constantly have no net positive ideas. Everything's negative, negative, negative. You're out there at least giving an alternative to people, and you get pounding. You know, it's all about shoe pounding and getting those votes out. I hope you get your 80%. I hope that 8% is the difference between Foley and Molloy. Marty, I will now hang up.
Okay, thanks for the call.
So we're negative? Has he watched a single Molloy ad? Has he listened to a single Democrat running? We're negative?
What about
Are you kidding me?
He's saying that the unions are waning in Connecticut and they're not a force to be reckoned with. I've always been under the impression that if you don't have the state, the government unions behind you, you're not going to win. Is that accurate, or have I been sold a bill of goods?
I'd like to hear, Joe, I'd like to hear you elaborate on your conversations that you've had with the unions where they've said to you, we'll make concessions, we just want to get blamed.
They don't want to get blamed. They've never been offered to do-it-yourself concessions where they can come up with where they think. Union work rules are one place they have to come up with changes, which is hard for them to do because they've taken years to make these rules. It's like anything else. It's a structure. But they don't have to. And if they don't, 1,000 union members every year through attrition. If they don't, as your governor, I will make sure they never grow a union again and outsource every job. I'm saying it right on TV, I can, because we will have tax increases. Their future sustainability of their pensions and unfunded obligations will be in jeopardy. This is to their benefit. So we can't threaten, we have no power, but we can't, if we blame, this is the problem I've heard, because people are hurting. Blame those union workers. Hey, I've stood bullhorn to bullhorn to John Olson over the years, the president of the AFL-CIO, on the street, and I've been right. Why? Because it was unsustainable. I've said it for a decade, and now we're here where it's unsustainable. So we're peeling off firefighters, we're peeling off state cops, we're peeling off state workers. For 17 months in a race, I've been getting direct messages from every department and people. We're peeling off the workers. They're not going with the union bosses. This is the year they break away. They won't go to Tom because they're afraid he's going to fire them. And this is another problem he's got. He's not being specific about how could you really balance that budget without cuts and without asking us for some money. The unions know. He's not asking us for money. Guess what? We got a tax increase.
I think you hit on an important point. I'm actually responsible for negotiating locally. I'm on our Board of Ed with our various union constituencies or administrators, teachers, whatnot. And you know, you look at the state's handling of or mishandling of these pension funds and the unfunded, perpetually unfunded nature of them. And you know, if I were a prudent observer of the facts and I were a teacher in the state of Connecticut, I would be scared about my retirement fund.
Well, the old,
and I would be
the old
voting
ones
for.
are hoping they get out first. It's almost like the herd, the thinning of the herd, when the crocodiles come out of the river and grab the weak ones.
They should all be voting for
So
Tim Burke
I sat in on, I'm a Board of Finance
member
member from Wilton, and I sat in on teacher negotiations. And with all due respect to both of you, the teachers vote for their leadership. And these people only gave a damn about how much money they had in their pocket at the end of the day. I sat in on those negotiations. So you could say, well, the average union worker really isn't for that. Nonsense. They vote for their leadership. But you get what you vote for. So I completely did, especially having watched these men and women. They were voted for by their contemporary. By the way, I was a union rep in Brooklyn, New York. I was a teacher in Brooklyn, I was a member of the UFT, and I was a union rep in my school. And I'm telling you that I was put there for a reason, to exact every pound of flesh I could. I sat in on the negotiations in Wilton, and that's exactly what they did on the other side of the table.
That was before Common Core, which is the most polarizing issue that I've made an issue this year. And the teachers, you go on my Facebook page, we're friends, and watch every day 5 to 10 teachers at every fair posing. 4 months ago, they wouldn't pose with me on Facebook. I'm afraid to lose my job. I said, why are you afraid of losing? You can't get fired. Now they're coming out. They're coming out of the closet.
Caller, do you have a question for the candidate? Joe Visconti is running for governor.
Well, sort of for all of you. I think I have a new definition for what it is to be a Republican. If your mouth is moving, you think you're doing something. Because that's all I see on the TV. That includes you too, Marty. If you think if you can just keep talking and talking and talking, somebody's going to listen to you. Maybe what Connecticut needs is, heaven forbid, I hate to say this, but Malloy gets another 4 years, I don't think you're going to have a constituency living who can pay for anything in Connecticut, because everybody with money will have left. I think the Republicans ought to rethink their position, and do they really want to be in an office or flatten their gums?
All right.
Well, that sounds nice, but I've been walking the streets with hundreds of people for months, not flapping my gums. This is where working on the street. I'm not sitting within a party doing nothing or waiting for somebody else to do something. We've walked the streets, getting tens of thousands of signatures, meeting hundreds of thousands of people for 17 months. I've worked my legs, my feet, worn boots out, not flapping my gums, with all due respect, whoever that caller was.
You were saying something.
Well, just in terms of what she said, just flapping your gums, I guess that means Obama's a Republican, because that's all he tends to do is flap his gum, right? So with all due respect, welcome to the party. So.
I mean, honestly, I really do love this state. I really do. But, you know, like all three of my kids, they've had to move out of this state. They all went, you know, well.
Two of mine are in Manhattan, two out of three.
Yeah, and there's nothing for them here. Real estate values aren't exactly skyrocketing because people are leaving. Companies, you know, when they look, I mean, I sit on boards with people that are pretty high up in like GE Capital and Pitney Bowes and some of these other things. And these corporate leaders, they're not going to expand a plant or move anything into Connecticut. It's considered a business unfriendly state.
It was decades getting here. We're not getting out of it in 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, but I mean, I really, you know, look, I'm going to lead out my life and it's fine. But I mean, the direction that the state is going, I think any thinking person would look at it and say, yeah, and I mean, there's this kind of rah-rah, I'm a Democrat, I love Obama, and I'm good, and Republicans are bad, and then the Republicans are rah-rah.
Let me give you some street smarts here.
Please.
Get ready. From, again, April 29th to August 6th on the street with hundreds of my people getting signatures and campaigning on the street, because we had to, with no money, so we were forced to the street. And I ran in 2008 against John Larson as a Republican when Bush lied and thousands died, and who would even want to say the word Republican? Well, guess what this year? Nobody's proud or even saying it, and we have to ask them, are you Democrat? Would you sign this? Oh, I'm not sure. I think I'm unaffiliated. They won't say they're Democrats. They're hiding from their brand. This is the year they're hiding from the brand. And the moderates, moderate, I would say conservative, and I didn't realize this until I started seeing the success. The conservative Democrats are coming over to our side from Meriden, from Newington, from New Britain.
And
the working class, regular people that aren't my West Hartford liberals.
Reagan Democrats.
They're everywhere, and they're switching over.
That's good. That's positive.
So you think so? Okay.
We know it. I have the signatures. I have the names. Yeah. I mean, we have the data.
Okay. So how does this play out? Like I said, we're 40 days from now. I'm going to wake up. It's the 39. Day after. 39. But I'm saying the day. I'm looking at the day after. The day after. 39. And it's either going to be, Tom Foley's our new governor, or it's going to be Malloy. With all due respect, it ain't going to be you. Well, but you can be a kingmaker, or you can be, a spoiler.
Like I told Tanya Bashar from the Tea Party when they sent me this open letter, and I opened up, "You can't win." I deleted it, and I sent her a text message or whatever, and I said, "Tanya, I don't read anything that says I can't win." And 34%. The way Tom is falling, and the way the governor's hated, they're both the perfect candidates for me to slide. Both Irish. You got an Italian. Most Italian state in the nation. There's no telling what'll happen. Just get me on TV. Just try to block me on television. I can finish the debates. NBC's playing a game right now. They're saying I passed their 5%. I make it on. Connecticut broadcasters and ABC also they haven't said no. So there's potential 5 debates I'll be in. Yeah. Right now it's kind of funny. The only station will let me on is the New London Day, CPTV for the live debate October 16th.
But bottom line, all that. The Italians are coming out for you. The Irish are there. You're skateboarding. You're riding horses on ads. You're good. You're pounding the flesh. You got the signatures and everything like that. But the nuts and bolts of it is just for discussion purposes.
No, I don't want to discuss that.
Okay, well, this is where it's a freaking talk show.
This is your show.
So, yeah, for discussion purposes, I'm telling you, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to be the ultimate kingmaker. I mean, everything that we're saying, for the Republicans to win back the governor's mansion, it's going to be a long shot no matter what. And you say you have a long history with the Republican Party. You have lots of friends in the Republican Party. If you were to throw your support for Tom Foley and it puts him over the top, I'm telling you they're going to build statues of you in West Haven and Hartford, and it's going to be, my great-grandkids are going to go, that's the great Joe Visconti. He was the kingmaker in 2014. I can see it. Well, you statue with a skateboard, you'll be on horseback. You're going to have your cowboy boots on. But in the same way, as high as that is, we lose. It's going to be like that Visconti, man. He's killing us. This is our one shot. Now we got 4 more years of Malloy. Visconti, why did he do that?
I got to say, I didn't think I could agree with Marty at all today. After his opening, where I'm over there just cringing at some of the things he's saying, I actually have to agree with Marty.
I'm just saying. I mean, look, I'll love you either way, but gosh, I mean, you won't. I will. I won't. You should see my circle of friends. It's very eclectic, and I tend not to hold grudges. But gosh, I mean, you really have a golden opportunity here. Now you can look. You have every right to ride it out and see what happens, and maybe in the end you're going to win. But I kind of doubt it. I kind of,
if he wins, he's not coming back in the show after all this.
He might. I mean, like I say, it's a free fire zone. You come in, and this is the arena. But where am I wrong on all that? Give me some hope.
Some hope. We watched the polls. Watched the race.
I thought you said the Italians, not the Poles.
No, I said watch the
Oh, that's good. Watching the Italians.
Watch what happens. Listen, you guys are on the outside, so there's a lot of things on the inside you don't see.
Okay.
We just, whatever happens for Tom, he has to listen. He's not paying attention. He's not listening, and I don't know why. Maybe because I don't have an MBA and all that, but I'm streetwise and I know what's going on, and they're just not listening. So if he wants to win and he does beat me and beat the governor, he's going to have to run a flawless campaign, and he can't bungle anymore. After Cap Report today with my dog ate my homework, my staffers screwed up, you can't do that. I can do that. I have no money. I have part-time staff that are just friends that come over and help us, and people that are just regular folk. I can't afford it. We don't have taxpayer money to pay people. But if you can pay $6.5 million and you have that to spend, get your staff, get your data right. Because the Democrats are pouncing. They are pouncing on with teams of people. He can't afford that. If I stepped out of the race today, he'll lose it because he's making too many mistakes.
Lightning round. Give us a minute on what you want to say, then you, and then I want you to look in that camera and tell people why they should vote for you.
Okay. Why they should vote for?
What do you think? Closing thought.
On the race or just life in general?
On the race, on where we're going, on the meaning of life.
So I think that ultimately, I think that Tom's going to pull it out. No, again, no disrespect to Joe whatsoever. We've got several things in our favor. We have a lot going against us. There's no denying it. From a pure numbers standpoint, we have a lot going against us. However, I can tell you that some of the things that we're doing in Wilton alone, and some of the things that my contemporaries are doing in the surrounding towns of the 4th, we're going to see a marked increase in turnout on the Republican side alone. I can tell you that we had roughly a 10%, and this is true throughout the state. On average, each municipality had about a 10% disaffected rate, meaning that people just stayed home in between and this is normative. I mean, these numbers are pretty much normative statistically. We're going to shrink that down to 2%. That's what our goal is.
The base is motivated.
So the base is motivated against Malloy. Whether or not they're motivated for Tom is a different discussion. Some are, as Joe's been able to convey, but they're absolutely motivated against Malloy. And I've got a number of Democrat friends like you, and they're not coming out to vote. That's just a fact of life. They are disgusted with the state of the state. In many ways, Obama is helping our cause because of his drag in the polls, in spite of this thing he's calling against ISIS. By the way, ISIS is a terrorist organization of his own creation, and nobody ever talks about, but let's leave that alone for a minute for another show. How's that? But that's helping us. So it's keeping Democrats home, and we're going to shrink the number of people who were staying home, and we're looking to get down to 2%.
Chris, final thought?
I'll keep it 30 seconds. I'm going to throw a grenade into the works here a little bit with respect to the congressional race. I take issue with candidate DiBasella's characterization of what the problems are. He sees the problem as the atmosphere in Washington is toxic, and then he proceeds to blame extremist Democrats and extremist Republicans. What he does in the process is he undercuts the people who supported him at the convention. Many Republicans, serious-minded men and women who know what the problems are and are serious about solving them. For him to characterize Republicans, half of his supporters that way, is smacks of political opportunism, and I take issue with it. I wish Joe luck, by the way.
Joe, first of all, I want to thank you for running. Seriously, all kidding aside, it takes some guts. It takes some couillons to do that. Give us a minute, talk into that camera, and tell people why they should come out and vote for you.
I'd like to speak to state workers. I'd like to speak to teachers, parents that are against Common Core, and a group of people that may not know me being a Republican, what's happened to me in the last 6 months, speaking to so many Democrats on the street. I found an affinity to the conservative Democrats I never knew existed. We see you coming over right now, drawing more Democrat support than Republicans, something I can't believe, being the far-right candidate. But the way the message is coming about is all about the budget right now. This is the number one thing here. We've got $2.8 billion and climbing coming up for deficits. We have to address it. I'd ask you to ask all the candidates, whoever you vote for, what their plan is and position to get the deficit down. If you can't vote for me, please vote for Tom Foley, but do not vote for Governor Malloy, whatever you do. That's it.
Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Nice job.
You're immense for coming in. It wasn't easy. I'm telling you, Joe Visconti is okay in my book just for coming in and being on the Marty Heiser Show. We'll see you next week. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but we got a week to think about it. Thanks for joining us. Good night.